Alright everyone, welcome back. We are back with another deck tech. This time we're doing Venom, the Deadly Devourer. Uh, this is one of my friend's decks. He gave it to me to do some quick upgrades to it. All within budget. It's just cards that I had laying around that I just wasn't using. But Venom, Deadly Devourer is a 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 green Golgari 4/4 Vigilance Menace. It's a legendary creature symbiote villain. For 3 generic, you can exile target creature card from a graveyard. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on target symbiote, where X is the exile card's toughness. Spoiler, Venom is the only symbiote in this deck. We're running it mainly as a Voltron deck. There's different ways that you can do it, but let's get into the deck. So, starting out, we're a Voltron deck, so we're going to care about counters, putting counters on Venom. We have Branching Evolution, Corpse Jack Menace, Gift of the Viper, puts a +1/+1 counter, reach counter, and a death touch counter on Venom, so that it really helps, especially the reach. Hardened Scales adds another 1/1 counter. Thundering Nightmare. You soul bond it to Venom, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, you put a counter on Venom. It gets out of control pretty quickly. Winding Constructor is just another form of Hardened Scales. We have Brawn. We want to put Brawn in our graveyard so that we can end up giving Venom Trample. With Grapple the Past and Grizzly Salvage, we're pretty much just milling, just trying to fill our graveyard with creatures. We've got 11 forms of draw. We've got Battle Mammoth, Beast Whisperer, Guarding Project, Hunter's Insight, Knight's Whisper, Orient Frostfang, Read the Bones, Return of the Wild Speaker, Risky Research, which is great because we can just surveil and put 2 cards into our graveyard if we need to. Shadowheart, which lets us sacrifice a creature if we have one of our bombs out and we want it into the graveyard so that we can pump Venom up. It lets us draw cards equal to that creature's power. And Sign in Blood. Just a pretty solid card draw package. We've got 12 forms of ramp. Got Arcane Signet, Dark Ritual, Farseek, Fertile Ground, Elysian Carrot, or whatever it is. It's a plant. You can tap it for any color mana. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you add 2 mana of any color instead. Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, Soul Ring, Topiary Stomper, Utopia Sprawl, Whisper of the Wilds, same thing as Elysian up there, and Wild Growth. Now, of course, you can take these two CMC mana dorks out if you want the deck to be a little bit faster, but they synergize with Venom pretty well, so we keep them in there. Removal, we have Golgari Charm, which also helps to protect Venom himself. We can destroy an enchantment. We can get rid of some. If our opponents have an Avenger of Zendikar, we can get rid of all those plant tokens before they become a problem, or we can just regenerate each creature we control. Infernal Grasp, usually going to take out if our opponent has like a combo piece. Let's say Urza's in play, or Azami, or even just Azusa, and our opponents are playing a lot of lands. Reclamation Sage, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Really light on the removal, but again, I only made, I think it was 10 swaps, and the majority of that was just getting more efficient creatures into the deck. Recursion, we got to reanimate. just in case we got something big in our yard and we just want to bring it back and be faced with it. Tutors, Buried Alive, Entomb, and Vile Entomber. They all do basically the same thing. You search for one of your bombs to throw into the graveyard so that you can exile it with Venom. Protection, we've got Fog. The Fog meta is very real, especially in our pod. I like to play a lot of elves. Um, and especially with Lorwyn Eclipse coming up, we've got a lot of elves, fairies, we've got goblins coming our way. We're going wide all the time, so Venom needs a little bit of that protection. Gaia's Gift puts a counter on Venom, so that's always great. Gives him Reach, Trample, Hexproof, and Indestructible until end of turn. Always good to have. Imp's Mischief, it's basically just a counter spell in black. Well, it's more of a deflecting swat, more so. Ranger's Guile, again, he gets +1/+1. It doesn't give him a counter, but he gains Hexproof until the end of turn. Just some basic protection there. Revitalizing Repast puts a 1/1 counter on target creature. There again, and gives him Indestructible, Snakeskin Veil, +1/+1 counter, and gives him Hexproof, Swiftfoot Boots, staple protection, Hexproof, and haste. Tyvar's Stand. This is really good when you're swinging in, because you can just, pump X however many times you want. Target Venom, he gets Hexproof and Indestructible, and just makes him massive. So you can use this as a kill spell if you really need to. Whisper Silk Cloak is a bit of a nombo because it gives Unblockable and Shroud. Now, Shroud does not work with Venom because you can't put the counters on him. But what it does, just the Unblockable is just so much better. If you want a quick upgrade, you could do something like Champion's Helm, Commander's Plate, any of the swords. If you're in a blue heavy meta or a black heavy meta, you can use one of those swords that gives you protection. It's kind of like pseudo unblockable, and it still makes it so you can target Venom with his own ability, as long as it's not one of the black or green swords. Because if you give him protection from black or green, he can't target himself, and it's strange. But the unblockable is just so key here, like any Voltron deck is. You could also use Brotherhood's Regalia. Can accomplish a similar thing here. So what are we trying to put in the graveyard? What are our bombs? What do they do? Well, we've got Void Beckoner. It's an 8-drop, 8/8 with Death Touch, cycling 3. This is mostly what we're going to use it for. So we're not going to be casting it for 8 9 times out of 10. Whenever you cycle Void Beckoner, you put a Death Touch counter on target creature you control. There you go. Death Touch on Venom, and then you can exile Void Beckoner from your graveyard using Venom to give Venom 8 +1/+1 counters. And when you cycle it, you draw a card. Unhollowed Phalanx. This is usually going to be one of the targets that you search for using Entomb or Buried Alive in the early game. It doesn't really have any use. It's a 5-drop 1/13. So it's basically just a big butt. So you want to put it in your graveyard, exile it with Venom. Venom then becomes a 17/17. Titanoth Rex. It's a 9-drop 11/11 with Trample, cycling 2. And whenever you cycle it, you put a Trample counter on target creature you control. Boom, Trample on Venom. Makes him scary. Plus he's going to get +11/+11. So a 15/15 with Trample. Scary. Sabertooth Moose Lion. This is one of the commons from the Avatar set. It's a 6-drop 7/7 with Reach and Forest Cycling 2. Now, I tried to add some creatures into the deck that you could just play that didn't necessarily rely on Venom. This is one of them. A 6-drop 7/7 isn't too terrible of a rate. Reach is pretty good if you're up against a lot of flyers. So, if you really need to, in a pinch, you can cast this and just have it sit on the board. You can use it as a beater or a blocker, and in the event that it does die, use Venom, exile it, turn Venom into a big beater. Mortivore. This and Lord of Extinction are going to be two cards that, again, you can cast them and use them if you need them. And then the event they die, you exile them with Venom. Or if you're in the late game, you want to use one of your tutors to get this into your graveyard, because these are two very game-ending creatures because of their effects. Mortivore is a 4-drop star. Star is equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So, of course, late game, this can be really big. Again, you can just cast it and use it if you need it, or you can exile it with Venom and go for the commander damage kill. Lord of Extinction, same thing. It's a 5-drop star, but this is power and toughness equal to the number of all cards in all graveyards. So it's going to be great, just massively bigger than Mortivore. Especially in the late game. If you exile this with Venom, again, instant speed. If you instant speed Entomb, exile it with Venom, you're going to take someone out. It's a combat trick, or you can just cast it and just have a massive, like, 40/40 just sitting on the board that no one wants to attack into. Hydra Omnivore, 6-drop 8/8. Whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Again, just a regular, decent creature. 6-drop 8/8. You cast it, have it on the board, swing in, block with it in the event it dies, exile it with Venom. Hierophant Biotitan. It's a 12-drop 12/12. This is from the Warhammer 40k set. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may remove any number of +1/+1 counters from among creatures you control. It will cost 2 less for each counter removed this way. We're usually not going to do that because we want our counters on Venom. But it has Vigilance, Reach, Ward 2. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. This is another one we kind of just want to throw in the graveyard. We're not going to be casting it for 12. We're not going to be removing counters from Venom. We want the counters on there. So we're just going to toss it in the grave and then exile it. Give Venom 12/12. Galta. This is one that we can either cast or throw in the graveyard. We usually want to cast it because a lot of times we're going to cast it for green. It costs X less to cast, where X is the power of creatures we control, and it's a 12/12 with trample. What's to hate about it? Death Shadow. It's a 1-drop 13/13. It gets -X, where X is your life total. You're going to pay 1. You're going to cast it. It's going to die. And then you exile it with Venom. And give Venom 13/13. Great to have. Damogoth Woe Eater. So 4-drop 7/6. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. Here we have a sacrifice outlet. Again, if we've got something on the board that we had to cast in the moment, we can use the Woe Eater to sacrifice it, get it in our graveyard, and exile it. But when we sacrifice the Woe Eater, each opponent discards a card, we draw a card, and gain 2 life. So it's a little bit of... It replaces itself, and you get a 7/6 in the graveyard. Damogoth Titan is a 4-drop 11/10. Whenever it attacks or blocks, sacrifice a creature. So we're going to put it on the board, hope that someone swings into us so we can block, and we're usually going to block it, or we're usually going to sacrifice the Titan, or it goes around to our turn, we swing in and sacrifice the Titan. Altanok, the thrice called, it's a 7-drop 9/9. With Trample, whenever it becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, we draw a card. We can pay 2, discard it, and return a land card from our graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is another one, 7-drop, 9/9 with Trample. Not too bad. If it sits on the board, it can draw some cards if someone wants to kill it. Or if we really just... we don't want to pay the 7 mana, we can discard it, get a land back. It's a 9/9 in the yard. We can pump Venom. And Agent Frank Horrigan is a 7-drop, 8/6 with Trample, has Indestructible as long as you attacked with it this turn. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, we proliferate twice. It's a 7-drop. It's an 8/6. If we exile it from the graveyard, we're only going to give Venom 6 power and toughness. This is one we want to stick around because we want to swing with it every turn. It's going to add more counters to Venom over time, especially if we have something like Hardened Scales or Corpse Jack Menace, Branching Evolution. That proliferate's really going to add up. So that's what we're going to do with Venom. We don't want to exile it. We can in a pinch. But this is one of the cards that, if it dies, we want to use Reanimate to bring it back. So, I went over kind of the basic strategy with Venom. It's a Voltron. You put things in your graveyard, you exile them, you make Venom bigger. But the good thing about Venom is very flexible in what he does. You can use him as a pivot. Like, let's say you're up against a Muldrotha or a Marin deck, you're not going to exile your own graveyard. Venom lets you target creature cards in any graveyard. So your opponent Marin may pitch something into the graveyard that they're going to want to bring back. You're going to exile it. As soon as it hits the graveyard, you exile it. So you're going to cast your creatures, but you're going to control their board. And this really helps because it puts a lot of pressure on your opponents. They never know what you're going to do. Are you going to cast a creature? Are you going to pitch a creature? Are you just going to exile their graveyard? The whole point of Venom is scaring your opponents. And he does a really good job at it. So you can pivot, you can Voltron, you can play control. This deck gives a good basic build for all that. And again, there are different cards that you can add to upgrade it that just weren't in the budget. The first one that I would recommend getting would be the Ozolith. That way, if someone does happen to kill Venom, those counters can be put back on him next time you cast him. It's just, currently the Ozolith is sitting at $50, and it just wasn't in the budget. This deck right now, without lands, we're not going to look at this, because these are lands that he has. I did not change the land base. Right now, without lands, you're looking at $140. It's a really, really cheap $140 deck. It's bracket 2. Don't let the bracket fool you. We don't care about bracket, really. This can contend with some bracket 4s. It can definitely contend with bracket 3. There's no game changers in here. There's no infinite combos. But it's very resilient. It's very good at what it does. There's tons of card draw, tons of ramp, tons of protection, and tons of room for growth while still being able to beat face. So, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's another deck tech that you want to see, or if there's any upgrades that you would recommend for Venom, and I can pass that along to him. And we can see what we can do on a budget. Till then, I'll see you next time.